Now, thousands of Conservative members have reportedly quit the party in protest at the anti-democratic decision to install Rishi Sunak as PM over Boris Johnson. The Reform UK party, formerly known as the Brexit Party and led by Nigel Farage, but helmed by successful businessman Richard Tice under its new name since March 2021, they've said that 4,534 new members have joined their party since this trust stood down a fortnight ago. Now, analysts claim potentially over 10,000 might have quit the Tories. But with Reform UK still languishing around 5% in the polls, do they have a genuine chance of unseating the Tories, or is a vote for them simply a vote for slippery Starmer? Well, Reform UK leader Richard Tice joins me now live in the studio. And Richard, I have been one of the only people talking about how deeply damaging what happened in the transition between Truss to Sunak was for the Conservative Party. What the Conservative MPs basically said is, we don't give a damn about our members. We are going to purposefully cut them out of the process. And I am very in touch with the Conservative grassroots, and I actually absolutely believe your figures. I know how disillusioned folk in the Conservative Party are.
And let's be clear, Dan, actually, the word's not languishing, the word is growing, because in truth, we're going, it depends on look which polls you're at, but on some we're 6. In the north, we're way more than that, and it's changing. And what's happened is, not only were people just appalled at the removal of Liz Truss and the coronation and what's happened, the anti-democratic nature, but all final hope that any Conservative person may have that you have a party that represents high growth, low taxes, small state. It's all gone. It's finished. It's gone. It's over.
It's now led by the globalists.
No, let's be clear. You've got two forms of socialism in this country. You've got con-socialism, led by Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt, and you've got red socialism, led by Keir Starmer. And then you've got Reform UK. We stand for high growth, low taxes, cutting the size of the state, cutting out wasteful government spending. And that's absolutely... We're the only party that recognises that we all care about the environment, but Westminster's net zero is the wrong way to go about protecting and arriving with getting clean air. And essentially, their net zero is making the country net poorer. You're seeing it this week with claims for reparations and all this nonsense. So net zero is making the country net poorer. We're the only party that will stand up and tell the truth about that. And we're the only party that will stand up and say, we will stop the boats.
Yeah, and I hear that, and I understand why a lot of disillusioned Conservative members have joined Reform UK. I completely get that. What I don't understand, though, is how your pitch can be anything other than saying that a vote for Reform UK is a vote for a Labour government, because in reality, you risk granting Labour huge swaths of seats.
Dan, I'm saying to people, vote for what you believe in, not what you're afraid of, and the objective that we will achieve, I believe, within 3 years of now, is proportional representation. And that is an absolute...
Labour won't want that if they get it.
They voted for it in their conference. The only person who doesn't want it at the moment is Starmer. But if they win, I dispute that. If they win with either a small majority or with a coalition with the Lib Dems, it's nailed on. And it's the right thing for the country.
I agree with that.
It's the right thing for the country because there's no such thing as a wasted vote.
If Reform surges, though, if Reform UK surges, and there's a chance of that, and of course we have to wait and see.
And we're taking votes from
Labour.
Labour.
My colleague Nigel Farage does as well, and whether he's going to be campaigning for you on the front line. So there is a chance that you surge. But just like at previous elections, there's a big moral dilemma for you, isn't there?
Dan, there's no moral dilemma at all.
Because there is a chance that you surging results in a Labour landslide, and then proportional representation doesn't happen.
No, nonsense. Look, let's be clear. The Tories have been in charge for 12 years. They've broken this country. They've ruined it. We are on the edge of being so far gone, it's not recoverable. It's like the late 1970s. They believe in managed decline. I believe in this country. We can make this country great again, but it requires radical change. It requires reform. And, sometimes you have to do tough, difficult things. But I believe in the north of England, for example, people understand the greatest asset we have in this country is the cheap energy treasure under our feet, whether it's lithium, whether it's gas, whether it's oil, whether it's coal, we should be using all of it because that makes us competitive, it makes us grow, and that is really, really important. We can still reduce emissions.
Yeah.
And people in the North understand that. And people in the North are fuming, absolutely fuming about what's going on.
I think
and they want
what you'll probably be pleased to hear from with me is that I am increasingly coming around for the need for electoral reform in the UK. Because I think the Conservative Party and the Labour Party for far too long have pushed a message that it means coalition of chaos. But what we're actually seeing is these big tent parties who have a left wing and a right wing within them who can't get anything done. And in fact, what you would see, because this is what happened in my home country of New Zealand when they had a proportional system introduced in the 90s, is you have some centre-left governments, some centre-right governments, where a party like yours could actually have a real impact on what the
we could have a massive impact. You've seen it in Italy. Giorgia Meloni, in 18, she got 4%, and now she got in the high 20s. And competition's good. People want new people with new parties, with new ideas, who can actually change things, get things done.
Well, one issue you've got, though, is there are a number of small parties. You're not the only one. And lots of people are aware of UKIP, of course, because that was the Farage party before he set up the Brexit party. There's the SDP, Social Democrat Party, which Rod Liddle, who's a regular on this show, is a member of and is incredibly passionate about. Lawrence Fox, who's obviously a presenter here on GBNews, he has his Reclaim party. And lots of members of those parties are saying, why don't you sit down with them and actually get all of yourselves together to form some sort of coalition who could genuinely take on the cause?
As I think you know, we've recently announced a working arrangement with the STP, and we will jointly endorse and indeed have some joint candidates.
Yes, but you don't want to sit down with UKIP,
with the STP. Look, the reality is there's only one of the smaller parties that's making any progress in the polls, and that's Reform UK. And we're now ahead of the Greens comfortably. We're making progress. Look, no one's saying it's easy. This stuff is difficult. It takes a lot of hard work. Building a brand in any walk of life takes time, but we're making progress. People realise that we've got the courage to stand up for the important issues about energy, the madness of net zero, about stopping the boats, about growing the economy. We're the only party to talk about growing the economy anymore. The Tories have given up. Yeah. Labour don't understand the word growth. And it's incredibly important to save this country.
OK. Richard Tice, leader of Reform UK, thank you so much for being here tonight.